Hello, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the multiverse. I am here. You are here. We are all here for this week's look at the OSR Reddit. I don't have any programming notes. But let's just get started, shall we? There we go. Whoa, already somebody in the chat. Chat's getting started early. Hey, Lincoln. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while, so welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. I'm just going to hit refresh. Going to stick with the hot tab. Hot. Spicy. All right. Let's see what we got. Glasses on. Okay, someone drew a halfling character in the latest module. WotC mocks Thaco by making it an NPC. I don't know about that. Down we go to a TPK. All right, I'll bite. Oh, down we go as a module. Okay. I'll read it anyway. Maybe there's something interesting here. I'm not familiar with this module, but this is posted as Down We Go to a TPK? Question by the Painted Ogre, who says, last night had a chance to run Down We Go for some friends. Pretty standard party. Most of us are old hats at RPGs, up to and including two of us are pretty crusty OSR guys. Paladin, Fighter Magic User, Thief, Wizard, and Cleric. Like, iconic party. Like, iconic. Am I right? Characters with one advance, so not quite beginning characters. We did the, quote, random adjective, unquote, tomb, straight from the beta on itch.io. First room, foyer, 2d6 ratmen. Maybe their dice were cold, but I had a feels bad moment when after the first round of combat, the cleric was almost down, the wizard was down, and the paladin was at half and struggling. I'm just going to say, with 2d6 moots, 2 HP each is a bit much. Holy hell. Had to adjust them on the fly to 1 HP, otherwise a juicy adrenaline interest fight would have been a TPK. As is, that near-death experience colored the entire dungeon. In every other way, though, it was a solidly fun romp and a brilliantly done rules-light game. Okay. Hey, Elfbait. Thanks for coming. Well, I'm not familiar with Down We Go, but I think this person maybe could have been helped by that chat I had with Daniel earlier in the week on Danny's Keep, where we talked about telegraphing things, because I think perhaps the issue is that things weren't really telegraphed in any way. Or maybe if they were, the party wasn't given a chance to do anything with the telegraphing. Because one of the things, and I think I brought this up in the telegraphing video in that chat, was that you have to have space. You have to have space to be able to react to whatever telegraphing you're given. There's really no point if you get first room foyer 2d6 ratmen, and the context you're going to give, the signaling, the whatever you want to call it, the signposting of the ratmen is happening at the same time the ratmen are actually right in front of you getting ready to attack. At that point, you don't have a choice. If it's the first room of a dungeon and you roll that as they're coming in the room, so it's going to end up being a situation. You open the door, it's a 10-foot by 10-foot room. You're on one side, you see 2d6 ratmen on the other side, roll initiative. Well, there's not much you can do about that. I would hope that this person, and again, I don't know Down We Go as far as what rules they have, but this is where morale and reactions can very much come into play. You want to see maybe the ratmen aren't hostile. Maybe they're open to some kind of negotiation. You want to be careful. It sounds like this is a one-shot scenario, and in a one-shot kind of scenario, if you put something massive in the first room of the dungeon like that, or maybe massive is not the right word, you put something perilous in that first room, problem can be, because I like to think in OSR games, hey, you can always retreat. But in a one shot, if you're at the dungeon and the first room has 12, however many that 2d6 ended up of rat men, Okay, you can retreat and go back outside, but are there other ways in? I mean, because that's it. It's not and in the sandbox game, you can just say, oh, we'll go somewhere else. We'll wait overnight. We'll do something. In this case, you might feel this pressure of, no, we gotta press in, we gotta go. This is it. This is the adventure. So you want to be careful. But I wonder if there weren't some nuances of the situation that maybe could have been dealt with differently. I'm not sure. Taking them from 2 HP down to 1, I mean, were they really unlucky with their attacks? Because if it's just the point of they keep rolling 1 damage, that's kind of hard to do. So sure, take them down to 1, but I don't know what the 2 HP down to 1 HP, how much that was supposed difference. Obviously, it made a difference to them, but that seems, I wouldn't have been the first thing I would have thought of to change. Maybe lowering their armor class, or if they've knocked out 6 of the rat men, have the rest of the rat men flee. I mean, that's half their number. That's at least a morale check, and I could easily see, very easily justifiable, if the GM says, yeah, you killed half of them, the other half scamper back into the darkness, or they sue for peace, or they do something else. Fluffy the Griffin, hey, welcome, Fluffy. Says, should have left it be, in my opinion. Level 2 was still too fragile for a direct fight. A couple of lantern oil grenades or some other ingenuity would have done a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that they could have done, but you have to have space to do it. And it's really hard when they're right there, right? So if you were going to then say, okay, I'm going to go in my pack and I'm going to get out the lantern oil and I'm going to get the flint and tinder, I'm going to do that. How many rounds of combat are you using to do that? Even if the GM is generous, because I kind of like the more gritty. It takes you a while to go through your pack. Your pack is not something that you could just in 3 seconds or 6 seconds, whatever it is, you can just pull out whatever you want. But even if you're going to say, okay, it takes 1 action to find that, 1 action to get that, 1 action to put it all together to make your grenade, assuming you didn't have your Molotov cocktail ready, that's just 3 rounds of those guys just coming up and thwacking you. And if there's 10 of them, and that means that every one of you in the front line at least has 2 or 3 rat men on you potentially. Whack, 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 whack. You're going to go down. So, yeah, either you say, well, maybe I don't want to have that encounter in the first room. I want to build up more tension. I want to build up more atmosphere. I want to kind of get them into the dungeon before I start springing stuff on them. Or think about other ways you could do those rat men, or something else. But that's a hard one to put in the first room of a dungeon, especially, like I said, if it's a one-shot kind of situation, in which case the party doesn't really have anything else to do but go into the dungeon. It doesn't have, it's not a sandbox. You're expected really just to go in. That's a tough ask. But that can happen sometimes when you let the dice decide, which maybe is you don't let the dice decide. If you think, hey, I don't want that kind of encounter in there, either take them off the list or don't roll the dice and let them have a room to just explore around. But I'll have to check out Down We Go. There was one comment by Karma Barley Mo, or Mao. Those are the fights we all remember, though. That's true. On the flip side, yes, you are going to remember that. And sometimes your party does come up with a genius thing, and if they do, they will remember that stuff. Or even if they all go down swinging, sometimes they'll remember that too. But you have to ask yourself that kind of context. What are 12 rat men doing in that foyer? And think about how you can use that to inform what's happening. Maybe they don't jump to attack. Maybe they just walked in 5 minutes ago too, and they don't know what's up. Maybe they're on their way out and they're beat up and bestraggled and they don't want to deal with the party. They just want to leave. You could make it more than just, hey, 2d6 and a rat man fight encounter. But you gotta think about it. And part of that is being able to take that break. I talk about feeling enabled to say, I need a minute to figure out what I've just rolled or what I've just come up with. And then that other part of giving them space, giving the party space. Hey, nothing says most rules are too stingy with morale. In real world ancient battles, units fled are only suffering like 10% casualties. You don't have to go to the extreme, but people really don't want to die. Oh, I agree completely. Absolutely agree. If you are seeing something and you see a couple of your friends, your brothers, your comrades go down in combat, yeah, you want to run. I do agree. I'm happy to roll more often than not on morale. And then Fluffy the Griffin says, right, if you're just being thrown into a fight, that's more on the whole group, and the thief should have listened at the door. If they had that chance, right? If it's the beginning of the dungeon, we don't know what the situation was, how they got up there. But this is really something that you could see a a lot of things come in. It could be I think there's some responsibility on the GM. Roll it in advance if you need to make sure that when they're walking up to the entrance to this foyer that they get some trace. Look, 12 rat men drop through. They probably left a trace, even if it's not, oh, look, rat men droppings, whatever. They've disturbed things. You should see if nobody had been in this dungeon for some amount of time and suddenly a whole troop of people come through or creatures, you're going to leave traces. If there was a door, you could listen at it. But I don't know if I get the sense that they rolled this before they listen at the door, or this is one of those things where you're opening up the door and then you're rolling for room contents and you get rat men. So we might look at procedurally, roll the room contents before they get there. Yes, the party could have done some things differently. If all those tools were there and the party just bulldozed ahead and then got bulldozed right back, I don't have that much of a problem with it. That's how you learn. That is really those situations where the party come back and goes, hey, you know what? Next time we're listening at the door, or we're looking at those traces, or we're paying more attention. But if it's more of that, hey, it's the first room. Hey, we open the door. What do we see? And the GM rolls some dice and goes, okay, there's, it's just, it's a tomb and, 12 rat men on the other side. They're 10 feet away and they yell charge, roll initiative. Then, the party's really limited what they can do. So they have to have that space. Got to have the space. But that was from the Painted Ogre. Let's move along, shall we? Okay, is anyone interested in how to play Dungeons and Dragons solo? Are there actual play podcasts? There probably are, but I don't know of any. Google Sheet Turn Tracker. Oh, here, maybe this one will be interesting. There's not much here. All right. This one's just a simple question. Metaplot or modular adventures? Posted by Tweedman. Hey, guys and dolls. How do you prefer your OSR campaigns? Metaplot or modules? Official or not? I'll give them an upvote just because I'm not sure exactly what they mean, metaplot or modules. I'm guessing by metaplot they mean do you have one, say, campaign arc, or you each adventure basically modular. So it's like a TV show that's episodic versus serial. Right? Serial has one sort of, there might be episodic things within it, but it has one arc that's attaching. Everything basically fits into, versus something that's purely episodic. What's the other one they call it? A bottle episodes. There are different names for it, in which case each episode sort of stands alone. You can look at a module as being that, we're going to do Keep on the Borderlands, and it's just going to stand by itself. And once Keep is done, then we're going to move on to Horror on the Hill, and that's just basically going to stand its own, and we're going to go to the next one. I don't usually use a lot of modules, and if you've watched any of my recap and prep streams of my home game, I've set up my party to get to the Caves of Chaos so they can do some Keep on the Borderlands action, and we're still struggling to get over there. So I don't have a great stance on that. I would say as far as running official or not, just kind of standalone adventures and an overarching plot, I kind of like the X-Files. I'll call it the X-Files system, in which you can have stuff that stands by itself. There's some kind of localized issue, and you fix that issue, and it has no great effect on the overall timeline. At the same time, there are timeline events, or there are larger things going on that affect the entire timeline of the entire area, right? So you might go into a town, and the town has a specific problem, and you deal with that problem, and outside of that town, it's just a little bubble. But at the same time, there's this thing happening that's worldwide or more regional wide, and you have different levels, and you can deal with different things. So I like a mix. I think it is nice sometimes just to be able to deal with an issue, and that's just it. And I think it's also nice when you see the connective tissue between things, and when you do have some kind of larger things at stake, larger kind of scope. So that's where I sit with that. But unfortunately, no one has commented in here yet, so I can't see what other folks are thinking. Okay, let's back to the list. Help me flesh out this hex crawl. Probably not going to be enough there to really do, and they probably aren't going to see this. So I'll skip that for now. How do I make an NPC generator? Very carefully. Dum-dum. Low-level city modules, dice that glow. Any dice help? Come on, folks. Some characters. Okay. Here we go. This is one of those ones. I'll be interested to see what the folks in the chat here think about this, because I guess I go kind of with the old school approach, but I know a lot of people do different things. This was put in Dungeon Crawl Classics. I guess, was this one that was just a repost? We could talk about it anyway. Posted by Jacob SH97. What level do you have new PCs start at when their old one dies? Originally, I was having new PCs come in at level 1 until the whole party got to level 2 at the same time, at which point that would become the new floor. But one of the players mentioned that it seemed really slow to get there and that he didn't think the level floor would raise soon, if at all. Right now, I modified it to keep the level floor rules, but they get to keep half XP on death. But I'm curious to see what other people do or other options. I've just done the level 1 thing, and it hasn't really come up a lot lately. So I can't say that, in my experience of playing this game and having all this turnover, so I haven't had it. The game that I've been playing or running for, it's over a year now, but it's had some kind of fits and starts, and some players leave, some players join, so on and so forth. Nobody's really died yet. They've been playing it pretty smart. They've been able to either escape in the nick of time or gut it out, and which has been impressive. I haven't really been running things to kill them, and their characters by vanilla standards are somewhat OP, but they're not running with a big group of hirelings. They've got a few now, and they've definitely been in dire straits. I don't think it's the fact that it's necessarily been OP that saved them. The dice have been kind at times, and they've just done it. But I told them that, hey, they die, they start back at level 1. What I found, maybe it's different when you get up to really high levels, but what I tend to find is that the XP evens out, because if you're running the kind of rules, and I don't know, I have Dungeon Crawl Classics, but I'm not super familiar with it. I don't know if they do things differently, but if you're keeping in mind that when you go up to higher levels, at least in terms of classically with the dungeons, you start to get less experience. If you're a level 2, when you're using a level 1 dungeon, you're getting less experience. So a level 1 character isn't. Your XP requirements are going higher. Some folks would even do things like, hey, if you're getting XP when treasure gets brought to town, then you let the level 1 character get the bulk of the treasure to town. Therefore, they get the split. Right? I've seen people do things like that, but it tends to be that those gaps become wide enough that the lower level players tend to catch up, while the higher level players are still just getting smaller or eking out that smaller progress to their goals. And of course, if the first level characters protected by some second level characters and they're on the second level of the dungeon, then they're getting even more relative experience. So I haven't seen it be a huge issue. The other thing you can do is have hirelings or retainers, and if they're going up levels but they're still hanging out with the party, that becomes somebody they can jump into. But I don't know. It hasn't been a big deal, and I think if you're playing something that's sandboxy, or you want to do kind of a West Marches thing, then you could have characters of various levels, have the first level characters come out to run with other first level characters. So I haven't had it be a big deal, but I'm not opposed if you feel like in your game you want them to all come back at the same level or whatnot. And I've played in games like that. It's not a super terrible thing. All right, nothing. Going back to the other topic, says, I found I can't stop myself from having an overarching plot, even when I try to make a totally episodic campaign. Overarching plots sneak in. It's hard. I would think it's hard because NPCs escape. Things don't necessarily all get tied up neatly at the end of an episode. And then, of course, you want to bring those hanging chads, if you will, back into the fold. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. And I think that's a good thing. I think players like it when that stuff comes back, when, you want things. It's a little bit, I think, boring for the characters if they never get to grow in that way that you really can do only by having things connected. If you're like the Hulk in the classic Hulk, the action series, the Lou Ferrigno Hulk, when he moves from town to town, and so he has to basically start from scratch as a nobody everywhere he goes because they don't know him, because the Hulk moving on to a new town. it's a trope, and it's a certainly it's one way for structuring your episodes, but I think it's more fulfilling as a player when they can build up on past experiences, go talk to that guy in that town, and oh yeah, we can build on that, and then those things are coming back around. I think it ends up being something that everybody wants ultimately. Elfbait says, this is going now back to levels. I'm less picky and just have them come in at the same level as the rest of the party. Used to do current level -1. Yeah, I'm not dogmatic about the levels thing. I've been doing level 1, but my party's only level 2. So if anybody were to die at this point, they'd just be going back 1 level. So not a huge deal in the scheme of things. And also remember, the advancement's not so wacky, right? It's not like if you go from I was the level 2 wizard and I died, now I'm level 1. Okay, so I'm down from, I don't know, 2 spells a day to 1 spell a day, which at that point may seem like a lot because now, oh, I'm double. But it's not so horrible. Sure, if I was level 8 and I was some kind of arch wizard and now I have to start at level 1, that's bad. But hopefully by that point, it encourages you to dabble with domain stuff, or at least work with who's going to be your inheritor, who you can build up on the side. And you could really get involved in your line of succession, not secession, your line of succession. Maybe you're building up other characters, and you can add in all kinds of safety features. Maybe you will then have enough gold and things so you can get resurrected, assuming your body can be brought out and whatever ritual done. You start to get more safety tools the higher level you get. I think because they understand that from first to maybe third level, life is cheap, but you really want to hold on to those guys once they get to that hero stage. So they give you some tools. I think this thing to play by. I think people get really caught up in that, maybe more than is necessary, but come up with what works for you and use it. I'm not going to hate on you for it. The Nothing says, once in a higher level game, I had a new PC come in at half the party level, but they got double the XP until they caught up. Worked great. They started as a sidekick and were slowly promoted to being an equal. Yes, and if you are playing in a deadly campaign, you're going to find that players going to be cycling, or characters going to be cycling in and out. So you think you're the low guy and you're suffering, and then suddenly you've gotten up a level or 2 back, and then someone else has fallen back. It happens. It's the never-ending story of D&D. Okay, what else we got? I don't know. Spine of the Night trailer just dropped. I don't know what that is. Elfbait says that now nothing. This is done in some MMORPGs. Adventure with higher level party levels you quicker. I think it does in D&D too. I think classically, if you get in, I mean, obviously, if you're a level 1 character and you're on level 5 of the dungeon, the loot and everything else is going to be much better than what you'd get on level 1. And you can level up quicker. And you might actually get a kicker to your XP because you're on that level. I have to look back. I want to say in the white box, not sure if it made it into BX, there are rules about kind of a multiplier for your experience based on what level the character is versus what level the dungeon they're on. It's not a super huge multiplier, but there is something to that. I just don't remember it enough, and I don't remember exactly which book it's in. But it might be there. Elfbait continues. One could justify this in-game by saying that the newbie is benefiting from the XP of the more experienced party members. Yep, there's that too. I think there's a lot of ways you can handle it. I do think there is something, and I don't know, it might not be the same for everybody, that the fact that you do have to start kind of lower down in some way is a good, I don't know, incentive for not dying when you get some levels on you. Because I think I do seem to think in say 5th edition that there's this concept, oh, I'm bored with this character, I'm going to kill him off, I'm going to start over. Well, I don't want you to play a character you're bored with, and if that was the case, we'd want to figure something else out. But this idea that your characters are kind of disposable, having a concept of, well, there's a consequence if you kill this guy off. You're not just coming back at the same level. You're not coming back with all their equipment unless you make allowances for it. I think that's a good thing. I think it's some reason to make people think like, yeah, I kind of want this guy to live, and I'm going to help him live. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Here's one that's got some upvotes to it. This was posted by the last Trolladarin. Character death and new character introduction. I was wondering how you guys do it. How do you manage introducing a new character when a player character dies while exploring or traveling? I personally try to reintroduce a new character as soon as possible, always as a level 1 character despite the group's average level, and try to make it somewhat plausible story-wise. For example, the new character could be exploring the dungeon by himself, or could have been made prisoner by some monsters and the party runs into him or her. I have heard about different ways to handle this, such as a new character being average party level -1, or being only able to recruit the new player once back in town. I was wondering if anyone out here had a creative way of handling this, or maybe some interesting mechanics to share. Okay, so we already covered this. Is actually it's sort of tangential to the other thing about leveling. So we already talked about that element. As far as introducing new characters, one that they didn't bring up was having the player take on a hireling that's already with the party. I think that's one method. The one that happened in an old game I ran, the party was all still level 1. No, they might have been level 2, and they had a hireling that was a level 0 mercenary. And when the player's character died, I let them know, hey, we could try to find a spot and figure out a way for you to get a new character in the mix. Or if you want, we'll just say that hireling leveled up to level 1. You can class them however you like. They would naturally be a fighter, but if they wanted to go a different direction, I wasn't going to stop them. We'll make it work. And then they liked that idea, so they just took on the hireling. So that made it very seamless. The hireling was already there, already trusted and known by the party, and they just took over and ran that. I think some of the other examples that the last Trolladarin mentioned are perfectly fine too. They run into a fellow explorer, they run into them as a prisoner. I think the most important thing about these introductions is really not the fictional way they're introduced. I think it is maybe even talk to your party beforehand. One of the things that I'm making a bunch of sentence fragments. Let me try to gather my thoughts here. One of the things I think comes up often, and I think this experience is essentially universal. Either a new player or a player with a new character comes in the game, they're ready to come in, and the party in the fiction decides to make it the hardest possible thing for them to join the party. Right? And we know that the players all know that either A, here's a new player trying to join the game, or B, here's an existing player who's got their new character. They're trying to join in the fun. But for some reason, and I've even been there where I've been part of that group where suddenly we're going, this guy in the tavern, he's looking at us a little too suspiciously. We know as players that this is this player trying to get in. But still we're going, I don't know. Oh, you want to join us? Oh, not so fast. Let's give you 20 questions. Let's grill you under a light, or let's sneak out and leave this person behind. So I think that the most important thing isn't the fictional part. It's just slapping the players or shaking them and saying, hey, just let the guy join, or gal, whoever it is, let them join. Don't make it a hard thing. Don't make it a big thing. Let's just get them in the action. So if you need to have that introduction, just do it. Don't make it difficult. For some reason, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Folks in the chat can talk about it, but there always seems to be this thing of make them suffer to get back in the game. It's already been bad enough. Either they're new to the game, in which case they're probably nervous and everything else, and you're making it worse, or it's like they already lost their old character, whatever happened to them, and now you're just making it worse. So just let's hand wave as much as possible. I get it if you want to have a scene. If you really want to have a scene where you want to introduce and the new character gets to speak, say, but I am Lothar of the Hill people, and I have journeyed far from the hills of my forefathers to come here. I see you are on the same task as I. Shall we join forces in friendship and brotherhood and fight the mighty Moltar from his molten palace underneath the sea? Sure. All right, great. Go for it. But if it's going to be a bunch of, I don't know if I like you, pal, and let's have you jump through these hoops and let's do this stuff, then you know what? Skip it. And I think that's the most important part, is get your party on board. have an out of character conversation. Say, listen, we're going to get this guy or gal, whomever, in the game as quickly and painlessly as possible. Do not make it difficult. Let it go. Okay. Your character may not know if they're a traitor or not, but you know they're not a traitor. You know they're not whatever. You know this is the other player coming to join. Make it easy on them. That's my advice. Let's see. I'm looking at some comments here in the chat. Fluffy the Griffin said, "This is fun. I don't worry about having applause, but just say you were passed by and heard some commotion." Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, right? Just, hey, you meet up. Elfbay says, tied up in the next room was a way they did it in the past. Absolutely. Elfbait also says, my party found my brother's character wandering the ruins trying to prove his theory that the builders had indoor plumbing. That's a great theory. Yeah, Fluffy the Griffin, I don't trust this new guy. Yeah, we can skip the I don't trust the new guy. Elfbait says, why would the party trust some stranger we just met in the dungeon / the woods / in town? Yeah, exactly, right? I get the fictional reason. If we're going just by the fiction, of course it makes sense. Why would you take this new guy who is very interested in what you're doing and take them into your confidence? I get it. But we know this kind of goes back to this thing I think we have to remember from time to time. It's a game. It's not a simulation. This is a game. So yes, we know in the fiction, it makes perfect sense for you to be wary of some new guy who seems way too interested in your business. But we know it's a game, and we know those players are trying to get their character involved. So if you need to throw out that moment and say, well, I look at him and I give him a little side eye, but ultimately shake his hand and let him on board, fine. But I think it too often ends up being where you spend half the session, even a whole session, just dealing with this suspicions and how can the new guy prove to these other folks that he's, come on, let it go. Elfbay says, I see it as an extension of the old, that's what my character would do syndrome. Yes. And I think that's the frustration people have when people bring up that argument, because almost always it's an excuse or a reason given for why you're making the game more difficult for people. Why are you doing this? Well, that's what my character would do. But the point is that you, the player, are the puppet master. Your character is the puppet, not the inverse. You, the player, tell your character what it does, and then you decide why your character decided to do that. Your character isn't the shackles by which you operate. You decide how these things work, and then you create that justification. Remember that. There should never be my characters forced me to do that. Maybe there's some weird thing, or maybe there's some edge case where you're at the core of your character concept, right? Spider-Man cannot kill, and so I can't kill. That's his core thing. Fine. I get it. But you know what? In movies, in the books, in all the different fiction, they find another way to get a similar result done with making it work. That's what you do. You find a way to incapacitate, get rid of. I think in, what was it, the first Nolan Batman movie, right? He's Ra's al Ghul is on the train, and Batman, he's like, oh, well, you can't kill me, Batman. And Batman's like, yeah, you're right, but I don't have to save you. End result is Ra's al Ghul still gets squished, but Batman didn't do it to him. And that, if you want to put that in a role-playing sense, that's the player saying, well, you know what? I can't literally kill Ra's al Ghul, but I know I can't let him live, so this is how I'm going to make that work, and I'll figure out how my character justifies it. Okay? There's my spiel on this is what my character would do. Hey, Terrence says, you're right. The rest of you die as well. That way you can all come into this together. Yes, that's the other option, right? Everybody dies. That way everybody can start over. Fluffy the Griffin says, verisimilitude is one thing, but we're playing a game in the end, not writing a novel. Right. And I think not often, but I say that it gets forgotten sometimes. Ultimately, it's a game. We have fun as a group. If what you're doing is making it unfun for everybody else, rethink what you're doing. Elfbait says, in a sci-fi game, I did have fun, guns drawn, stranger meeting mid-session, but it worked because all the players were on board. Yeah, and certainly, I want, if it's working for everybody, if that character, the player wants it to do that, right? I'm not trying to say don't have a fun moment for all, but I think there's a point where it's clear that you're just placing obstacles. And I'm not even saying it's one character player. Sometimes it's multiples. Just deciding that, what we're going to do is put obstacles here for whatever reason. I don't know what the mental reason is. It's just something that happens. It's like that kind of madness of the crowds. There's the madness of the group to make it difficult. And once it's just become clear that it's just about making it difficult, I think maybe at the GM, you step in and say, okay, time out for a minute. we've had this nice scene. You guys are doing whatever, but now we're just spinning our wheels, and we know that this guy's got to join the party because that's what they're here to play the game. And I'm not running a different session for him because you guys won't let him in. So let him in. Then nothing says sometimes players don't want to make it easy because they don't want to metagame. They end up making it too hard to join, which is also metagaming. Yes. And again, this is, I think, where you have the GM have to step in and say, I'm going to help you metagame this out. They're joining. Have your scene, have your moment, then we're moving on to the next scene. Cats, round up. We're moving up. All right. That's all I've got. I ended up being a little bit more fruitful than I thought. I don't think I need to build the comments. I think we got it. I think we get the gist of things. I did give them upvote as usual. Always give your fellow Redditors an upvote. A Giantkin OSE race. I'll dig this one. Is this going to take us off site? I don't think so. All right. Someone built a Giantkin race for Old School Essentials. I'll drop the link in the chat, so if folks dig it, they can pick it up, run with it. Going back to the other issue, Elfbait says, right now my game is dealing with one of my players who chose to have his character be judgmental of all the other party members. My question to him was, why did you choose that? Yes, this is one of those things that I would hope, you catch before they bring him in the game. Because yeah, that's like a warning flag to me. Right? Why did you bring somebody in who's distrustful? I mean, I was in a game back in the day, which we had to end the campaign. I don't know, maybe that's too strong. We had to end that current arc, or at least that element. I don't remember how the game went on, but what happened was one of the characters was, I mean, he was one of those. He was like a goth, oh, I hate everybody, but he really hated Drow, or I think it was Drow, yeah. He was elf, and he's like, oh, I hate the Drow. I'm dark, man. I'm dark, and I'm brooding, and I hate the Drow. We ended up in a situation where there was a Drow that was good. They'd escaped from the Underdark, and they were hiding out. And I don't know how it came up, but our party ended up being split, just doing different stuff. I was playing a bard at the time, and I ended up finding this drow, and they were staying with a unicorn, and there were some other things going on. It's kind of over here, and the rest of the party had gone to the town or some other settlement, and there were some other folks who were kind of evil, and they planted the seeds by mentioning, oh, there's a drow in that house, and we ended up, and because that made then the elf character just go berserk. He had to kill the drow at all costs. We ended up in a situation in which essentially two forces were drawing up. I think it might not have been the entire party besides me, but maybe most of the party was over here with some giants and some other creatures over here. And I think there was a unicorn and a couple other kind of pretty powerful creatures on this side. I was over there. The drow was over there. There might have been another party member too. And it was just going to be a huge combat that was just going to just derail and blow up everything. And I remember clearly because this didn't happen at the end of a session. It kind of was happening. It's all coming together basically mid-session. And it was a little bit exciting, actually. I have to say, I remember as the players, we were all kind of giddy, thinking like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because we're basically marching out essentially to fight each other in an open field over this drow. I was a new player to this group. And I thought about it for a while as everyone's kind of out there. And I went into the GM and I said, look, I don't want to blow that, because I might have been the only character who'd been doing kind of going off script, so to speak. And I said, listen, I don't want to blow up the whole campaign, right? I'm actually excited if we have some big climactic battle. It seems fun, but it's likely to it's going to be, the end of this thing. So I said, I'll volunteer to send my character off. So I wasn't really attached to them yet. They were fun, but it wasn't something where I felt like, oh, I gotta preserve them. I'm like, no, it's a fun story, and I'll send this guy. I'll have him and the drow and those folks just flee. They'll just run to escape, and the party can avoid essentially having a TPK style event. I felt like that's what it was going to be. They had this battle would be sort of this glorious, bloody TPK. So I said, you know what? If people want to do it, I'm fine to do it. But I said I can also just exit stage right. I'll make a new character. I don't mind, and we'll do it. So that's what we did. Elfbase says, the Elven Edgelord. Yep, indeed. No, nothing says, I had a player literally make a character that was unlikable. Then they were not happy when other players didn't like him. Why did I allow this? Because I am stupid. I think we've all allowed these things in the past. Because I think some part of us wants to go, you know what? You want to play the unlikable guy? All right, let's play the unlikable guy and let's see how that works for you. The problem ends up being that it just ends up being a drag on everybody way after the fun of having the unlikable guy. Terrence says, just hanging out with a unicorn like you do. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was a great story. It felt great. I to this day, I have no idea what was supposed to happen there, what the GM thought. I think maybe they thought we'd all go. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. But the fact that we found the drow, we tried to keep it from the elf. That was the other part, because we tried to keep the drow secret. That, of course, made the elf, because they had no nuance to their character. It was just like, oh, you kept it secret from me. Now you too must die. There's no nuance to play with. So it was, okay, so the die was cast, and that's when I think it came down to, as I'm thinking about it more and remembering more. Okay, once the deception came out that I had found that drow, or my character had found that drow, not told them about it, so now I was on the enemy's list. The drow was clearly on the enemy's list. Those giants, whoever they had met up with, were saying like, "Oh, we got your back. We'll help you with those troublemakers," because I think they were sowing discord themselves and wanted to get rid of the unicorn and whatever else was going on out there. I think the unicorn might have been disguised. It was like, all right, it's all like they were marching, we were getting ready, and it was okay, boom. And they're like, yeah, let's skip that part, and I'll just walk away. Fluff the Griffin says, racism for the sake of racism is so damn tired. Yeah, I hate gnomes because, well, they're gnomes. Yeah, I think this was like, I hate drow. Drow killed my brother. You don't hate all of somebody because of this one thing, right? But yeah, we think that way in these fantasy situations. That, yeah, one gnome scuffed our new leather boots. Now all gnomes must die. It's silly. Elfbase says, I have had bad luck with players presenting awesome characters and then playing them like crap. Yeah, that's something we can't. It's hard to, so we get a real feel for our players, where we can know the ones that are going to come up with something and just go, yeah, sounds great on paper, but I know you're not going to play it like that. That's kind of on them, right? Because we can't figure that out. And why would we want to? We want players to play cool stuff. All right, let's look at this giant kin. Can I get this all on the page at once? Well, I can there. Can you do better for me, Edge? Here we go. All right. I don't know if Old School Essentials has specific guidelines that are different from, say, BX. So I'm just going to treat it as if it were like BX. Basically, somebody can correct me if there's something about OSC I should know about these things. And let me post the link back in the chat in case. I'll have to get I have a URL shortener. I'll have to start using it. It might slow down me posting links in the chat, but that way, if you're looking this later on YouTube or elsewhere, and I have been really bad about going in and putting links, so I have to go in and do that. It's not onerous to type it from what we've got. But anyway, we're here now. Okay. Requirements: Con 13, Strength 13. Prime requisite is Strength. Hit dice 1d10, max level 8. Armor, any appropriate to size, including shields. Weapons, only large weapons. Languages, alignments, common, ogre, and dragon. I'm not sure. That's okay. So first of all right, let me just let me read down the rest of it. It's probably not going to be that fruitful, simply because I don't have XP charts to combine it with. it looks like they don't get any pluses to hit. They get +2 to hit at level 4, and then +5 to hit at level 7. I don't know how that compares to fighters and things. They do have, say, there's a combat section that says giant kin are so big they must use weapons and armor made for their size. Giant kin are able to wield two-handed weapons in one hand. It's fine, I guess. Giant king strength ability score counts as 16 to 17 for chances of success in opening stuck doors. If their score is not higher than that, after reaching eighth level, their giant kins, I don't want to keep saying king, giant kin's strength ability score becomes 18. Yeah, First of all, that's probably not how I would do it. I think armor, any appropriate to size, including shields. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, we have. So first of all, what I would probably say is I don't know what giant kin is. Is that supposed to be half giants? Is that supposed to be just giants? Because in that case, I would probably just have, if these are supposed to be essentially hill giant PCs, I would probably just call it hill giant. And that way I could at least have the monster manual or whatever, wherever your source for hill giant stats and things, as a bit of a guide as to where they sit. Armor, any appropriate to size. I might just say, I don't know, maybe medium. If it's hill giants, because what kind of giants changes? On the one hand, I think that you could say, okay, well, if you can get some kind of smith to make you giant scale armor, fine. But I think I wouldn't just give them, oh, I can have giant sized plate mail. I probably wouldn't. If it's but that also depends on if I'm thinking it's a hill giant as opposed to a frost giant or a cloud giant. I probably would reduce the armor a bit. Weapons, I probably would want to look at what kind of giant I'm thinking. Clubs and things like that. Giant sized for sure. Puff the Griffin says same attack as a fighter. Okay. The Vader Saga author Nicholas Stanishek, hey, welcome, says they think half giants. Okay. JD Soul 3002 says human like monster 4+1 HD or greater is how OSC qualifies size. Okay. Fluff the Griffin says, I'm guessing they want a Goliath from 5th edition in game. Maybe. So some of this stuff is just personal. I really think that the requirements, I wouldn't have the requirements. I might say, hey, your prime requisites are strength and con. Maybe the strength is fine. I wouldn't have the requirements. I might say that just that they get a bonus to strength. I don't know, because no other. I'd really have to look. I kind of feel like I need to really look at if there are different. If there are official things to look at. So I'm trying to think. Dwarves and other things don't get a bonus to strength. I get it; they're big, so you want to kind of give them a big thing. I get that the large weapons in one hand. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think I'd say at 8th level their strength ability becomes 18. Maybe if I want to give them some kind of, hey, their strength increases by 2, and then their strength increases by 4, something like that. Maybe that would work better, and then just let those bonuses be whatever those bonuses are. Languages, I don't understand these languages at all. I get alignment, I get common. I don't get ogre and dragon. I think giant. Alignment, common, giant. I mean, you could take ogre and dragon if you get extra languages through intelligence, but I don't know why you get them for free. Seems like everyone's going race crazy lately. So many races and so many systems, both old and new. Yeah, it's. I mean, I get it. I think it's. And I talked about this. I did a video a called kind of culture a creature as class. I like it, and I could even get, I think even getting more specific is great. Like, what is a hill giant fighter like? What is a hill giant cleric like? What is a hill giant, is there a hill giant thief? What is a hill giant thief like? And get really specific, and then you can really get granular while still having just a nice clean class. If you don't want to mix having a separate species from class, I dig that a lot. But this just kind of comes into a weird place. Maybe it works for them in terms of what they want, which is, hey, fine. But I wouldn't use this. Not for me, I guess is what I will say. Not for me. Not to say that it's unusable. Give an upvote. I wouldn't use it. Distinct Winter 5070 comments in Reddit. You should, instead of forbidding small weapons, make them a penalty hit. Also, there's an alternative ability at 8th or just nothing. I'd probably up the hit die as well. I'm not sure about that, but I'll give an upvote. All right, but that is something. Not for me, but kudos to them for creating it. And it's, I always feel like you want to support people who post this stuff out. You know, it can be tough. So good on them for posting it. What else have we got? Okay. All right, this one should serve to be interesting at least. Posted by Bobby Watson with a 0. I think I've read something from Bobby Watson before. Would you allow your magic user to quote unquote stack charmed persons who fail their saving throws? Or would you have one at the time or more depending on charisma, maybe like some kind of hireling limitation? So I think what they're saying is, you cast charm person. If it succeeds well enough, that creature can be charmed for, I think, a month. I mean, more than a month. It can be charmed for a long time, weeks. So during those weeks, you obviously have your spell slots comes back. So even if you were a first level spell and a first level magic user, and that was your one spell of the day, you charm something, it fails to save, it's charmed for weeks. The next day, you get another spell slot back. Can you charm something else? I would say yes. I don't think I would worry about it unless you find some loophole in something which is just making it just crazy with charm. I don't even know what that would be for something low level. I would say fine because they don't get advanced warning of it failing, and you can have some fun with something that's charmed, especially if it is on the brighter side and it just happened to roll poorly and fail. Like what kind of things it would want to do when the charm goes off? Does it, when the charm then wears off, does it immediately turn against it, or does it plot some kind of longer term vengeance? And I think it's going to fail often enough that I wouldn't worry about it. There's a lot of comments in here. Maybe some other people do worry about it. What do you folks think? Limit the amount of charms or not? It seems like I don't know. I mean, I guess it's different people's experiences. Back to the Giantkin. Another says, unpopular opinion, just play a human. Humans are infinitely interesting. No critic ever said Macbeth is an okay character, I guess, but wouldn't he be more interesting if he were a cat person? I tend to agree with that. I actually run a lot of human campaigns because I like the idea of humans and experiencing everything else gets to be kind of really weird, and I like that. I have no problem with playing humans, but I've played in a campaign where we were all dwarves, and I didn't mind that either. I mean, actually, I will say, when the campaign idea was pitched, I thought, dwarves, do I really want to just play all dwarves? But I was like, all right, I'll go with it. And it was cool. It was cool. I think people do get too caught up, and I have to have every option under the sun, man. It's like, no, ultimately, all that stuff is kind of dressing, right? It's really going to be your characterization, how this character grows and acts over time, and that really doesn't have anything to do with what species they are or what class they are. I don't really have any other wisdom. I'd be okay with them stacking charm persons and let them have fun when it fails, but I'd be okay if there was some kind of limit too, I guess. I don't know if I'd want to limit it to charisma because that ends up becoming like almost a second, right? A secondary requirement. So then you have to have high charisma to use that spell, or if you want to use it, I wouldn't go that way. But if you want to have something, sure. Let's see. What else have we got here? Where are we at on time? Oh, okay. We only got one or two. I usually tend to pick the longest, most intricate thing to do at the end of these streams. Let's see if I can do that again. Warlock OSR. I don't know enough about Warlock. Oh, and by the way, while you guys are in here, before everyone bails out at the end of the hour, if you can give a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And of course, if you're in here and you're not subscribed, but you love this stuff and you think, boy, what a wonderful thing I've stumbled upon, please subscribe. Well, I won't bother you much. You'll just get notified if things happen. Now back to scrolling down this list. And please, in the chat, if you see me pass something that seems interesting to you, I'm happy to stop. Let me know. Sometimes a title might call to me, it doesn't call to you. Hey, Nicholas, thanks. Thanks a bunch. I appreciate you. And I do these, Nicholas, since you are new, I will just say I do these Reddit read-alongs basically every Friday. And now that you're subscribed, I do post what's happening each day and that I'm on streaming, which is most days. I try to do it early. It's in the morning. I'm Eastern time. But the one thing you can count on, as much as you can count on anything in this world, is that Fridays are these Reddit read-ups. So if you do roundups, I should say. So if you do like these, know that next Friday and the Friday after that and the Friday after that, I will be back in here. Okay. What have we got? I need one more. Would I recommend the white hack? I don't really know it. Gotta be one more. Got to be. Help me, Obi-Wan. Die trying, levelless, classless, focused on ending up with really weird characters. All right, here we go. Got 78 votes. Let's give it 79. This was posted by Splack. I will put this link in the chat. I'm excited about so Nicholas says, I'm excited about the new releases from Lamentations that are coming out a week from Monday. Love that video that was posted on OSR. I'll have to check it out. I'll check it out. All right, so this is posted on the Slight Adjustments blog. Trying. This is a character generator, I'm thinking. Character generator. All right. There it is in the chat, and here it is highlighting it in the actual stream itself. It looks like this is something that will do it for us. So, okay, so we have some. So I'm going to go down to the bottom first, which gives us essentially the directions. Gestate a murder hobo. 1. Roll an ancestry. Roll an ancestry. Pick any die size from 1d1 to 1d100. Large dice will probably make for stranger characters. Roll 3d6 in order for strength, dex, con, int, wiz, charisma. If your ancestry has a stat listed, re-roll it and take the higher. Roll 3 times on the events table. These are things you did before you became an adventurer. Collect 3 random items, 3 rations, 3 torches. If you want, you can trade the rations or torches for an extra random item. And we know what stats are. But the character I rolled does a weapon, a spell, good stat, something else I need. What do I do? You do your best. Okay, and then they have some advancements. So this is okay. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. I'm not going to worry about advancement and the rules. Seems like you can just run this just as some kind of very rules light, at least part of it, you could stick this in your game. Let's just check out character generated here. This character's name is Patricia Brimlad. Their ancestry is a rune dwarf. You know a dwarfy spell. You can turn spells into glyphs, mechanisms, and items. You can't cast spells any other way. That's not bad. 14 strength, 13 dex, 13 con, 11 intelligence, 7 wisdom, 12 charisma. That probably would go as the best rolled stats of any characters that are currently in my home game. I don't think anybody got that good a number of stats. All right, so what did Patricia do? Before they became an adventurer, they found religion, Valkyrie. You can lead those who fall in battle on honorable quests. Whether they arise as ghosts, zombies, skeletons, or other is up to the dead. Interesting. Grasped at any available power. Exploding blasphemy skulls. You can turn decapitated heads into improvised explosive devices. Very handy at parties, or funerals, more like, right? Great in a not a cemetery, but like a crypt, catacomb, something with a lot of heads around. And then finally, you got your hands on a magical artifact. Don't want to remember how you got it. Amulet of the Archmage. Something casts a spell on you that you know. It rebounds on the caster and you are left untouched. But you don't know many spells, but still, that's really powerful. We got 3 jars of eyeballs, a very smug cat, a great sword, 3 rations, 3 torches. That's kind of cool. I'd love to see the code that's behind there, what all the different things are. Because I feel like this is something that could easily be tweaked. Like, what are the source tables? I guess maybe that's the thing. I'd love to see the source tables for this for tweaking. Let's do one more, and then we'll call it Ovaltine Patrol. Hey, Ovaltine Patrol. It says an ossuary. Thank you. Let's do one more, maybe 2 more. And then we got Brandon Durrell. They're half djinn. You can make a single minor wish once. Strength 12, Dex 13, Con 10, Intelligence 12, Wisdom 12, Charisma 18. Whoo! Now this one would definitely be the highest character in terms of stats in my home game. My other players would kill for these stats. Kill, mind you. Before Brandon Durrell became an adventurer, they acquired a random spell, Wood Strong, and a useful trick with it. A weapon with the spell attached. Okay, it's either a sword, an axe, a bow, or other. Killing things causes it to accumulate MD. I don't know what MD is. Let's see. They were born with power. Their family's full of magic. They gain another MD. Might be able to get more MD the same way. I don't know what MD is. Some kind of magical something or other, I would guess. They also mastered an obscure fighting style, water cutting stone style. Your bare hands deal as much damage as your target would deal with their melee attack. And then items, a musical instrument, a scroll of duplication, a striking hat with tremendous feather, 3 rations, 3 torches. And Terrence, you. Yes, Johnny Dangerously. I mean, it's a terrible movie, but yeah. And I don't even want to speak about what happened to Joe Piscopo in his career, but yes, that like, you know, the once bit is, I mean, is that the kind of defining thing in Johnny Dangerously? Does anyone, I don't even know if I can remember anything else about that movie other than that guy repeating that line. All right, one more time. These are cool. I like these. I would definitely have to tweak these, and another reason why I'd love to see the tables underneath. I think I could really take these tables and tweak them for something that would, say, suit my particular style of game better. But I'm digging them. I'm not sure why they need to be classless, let's say. I think you're just making kind of custom classes. But here we go. Hagat Wustifer. They're having an aberrant ancestry. Roll any stat. Reroll any stat. +1 MD. I still don't know what the MD stands for. Incapable of doing a particular normal activity like sleeping or eating. Wow, these stats they're rolling here. Phew. Okay, strength's only 9, but even still, that's not bad at all. 12 dex, 14 con, 16 intelligence, 11 wisdom, 12 charisma. I don't know if I'm just getting lucky with these or if someone has juiced up this 3d6 rolls or if there's some bonuses being applied here because those are all very good rolls in my game. Ovaltine Patrol says, I remember the getaway car with layers of paint jobs, including a nursery wallpaper. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of good bits in there, but yeah, it's pretty. And then Terrence says, you farting ice hole. Yeah. There are a few memorable things. JD Sold 3002 says, is it 2d6 plus 6? I don't know. But they're getting good rolls. My players, like I said, they would harm someone to get rolls like that for their characters. All right, before Hagat became an adventurer, they found religion, the word, one of the transcendental names of authority, acts like a spell that is always cast with 3. Okay, so that's whatever their magic system is. It's 3, whatever. Very heretical to do so without a proper reason. They were trained to fight and kill. Fatality. You can execute a gory finishing move. Roll bonus damage. If that would be enough to kill them, they are obliterated. If the bonus damage isn't enough, they don't take it and you are thrown off balance. I like that one a lot. I might have to. I'm gonna have to copy that one, paste that somewhere. I think that's got some possibilities to it. Just make a note of that. And they also learn to speak the language of birds. Macaw, macaw. Trained by a master. They've got a pitchfork, a saber, a fluffy cushion. It's great on those long wagon journeys where you can just whip out your fluffy cushion and relax in style. They have 3 rations and 3 torches. All right, well, that was Die Trying. It's really got some great possibilities in there. I would definitely want to muck about with the underlying tables to get something maybe more my style, but some cool stuff. I might even post in there to see if what the underlying tables are. Actually, I will post on there. Great job. Would love to see the underlying tables if they are available. Spelling available somewhere. And I'm going to exclaim it because I mean it to be exclaiming. All right. And I already upvoted. All right, folks. Anything last from the chat before I call it a Friday stream? Of course, everyone have a great weekend. Give a thumbs up on your way out. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Helps me out. I don't think I have any other kind of self. What's the word I'm looking for? Publicizing notes to give. Hey, Marcelo, thank you. Take care, you too. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap it. Have a great weekend. Evening, afternoon, morning. Game on, everybody. Take it easy.